Welcome to Scorpio Soul Time. I'm Ronique, and I appreciate you joining me here on my YouTube channel. Every lunation cycle, we take a look at the energies that are going on in the astrology, because as they say, as above, so below. So whatever is happening up in the universe and the energies that are going on between the planets directly affect us here on Earth. So thank you very much for joining me. If you have not subscribed to Scorpio Soul Time, I would appreciate if you would share it with your friends, your family, anyone that you feel like could benefit from this information. I am so excited to each 2 weeks be able to bring you all of this important information, because I think it's really important as we're going through these challenging times to be able to see why some of these energies are playing out the way that they are. So today we are actually going to talk about the new moon in Aquarius that occurs on February 11th of 2021 at 2:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Times at 23 degrees and 16 minutes of Aquarius. And I'm going to show you here on my astrology wheel, because we have a lot of planets, 6 planets to be exact, in Aquarius. We have the sun and moon sitting here conjunct at this new moon. We also have Venus, Mercury, as well as Saturn and Jupiter. So that is a lot of energy. They call it a stellium anytime there are 3 planets or more in one sign. And so the last time we saw a stellium like this was last year around this time, when all of the planets were in all the planets were in Capricorn. And so we had a lot of that energy around, what was long-standing traditions, government, status quo, things that were took very long years and generations, if you will, to create, like our society norms and goals and things like that. So that was like why we basically took all of 2020 of going through those all of those themes of things that we were used to being for so long, that we just created like that was just the norm. So our government, or our healthcare system, or like the racial injustice issues that we had, the economy, the health, the pandemic, and how our government dealt with the pandemic. All of those were themes around Capricorn of statistical, years and years of like things that have been on solid ground and they got shaken up, if you will. So this year now we are going through this stellium of Aquarius, and now we are like moving into more of this vibrational energy of how do we as individuals feel about being in the collective. So how can we like come together and shake up the system, because remember, Aquarius also has a lot of energy behind what is it that gets excited from a mental and stimulating standpoint, a higher minded, higher vibrational standpoint. And so I think that it's going to be very interesting, because as we move through Aquarius, it's going to be more like looking at our identity, yourself, understanding how you yourself fit into a bigger system, your community, how you as an individual can change your community, or how you as an individual compare with others to create a new community. And we've already seen a lot of this with the stock market here in January, with the Reddit and the GameStop, and how it shook up the entire stock market, and how this group of people were able to come together to shake up this system against the hedge funders, if you will. Usually like that stock market has been something that has been kind of like this system that has been tried and true over all of these years. And so for like this little group to band together to all create this momentum of the whole GameStop rise and fall over the course of, just a few weeks in January. That's like a really good example of how this stellium of planets in Aquarius is going to shake up the society norms. We're going to start seeing things that are different in our medical society. Remember, Aquarius also moves anything, rules anything that has to do with technology, computers, anything that is like the kind of like the new cutting age. And I decided to take out this 17 card for consciousness, because the star card actually in tarot is the one that represents Aquarius, and it's the water bearer. And I don't know if any of you caught it, but on the last full moon in Leo that happened at the end of January, I actually showed this card in my thumbnail at the beginning, and I actually was supposed to show Leo which would have been the sun card for the sun, but I realized that I showed the star card, and I think like my angels intuitively were telling me like the Aquarius energy is so much stronger, and that's really what you need to focus on. So just be aware that now the star card really is the card to be showing at the beginning, because I like to kind of focus in on what the energies are for the sun. But since right now we're going to move into this new moon, it's the sun and the moon. And so the Aquarian star card is the number 17 in the tarot deck. And so I actually chose this 17 consciousness card. And I like it because it says the frequency of consciousness supports our ability to focus our attention on all of the multi-dimensional aspects that show up, so that we can include them in our reality. And you can see, if you look closer here, you can see like there's this almost like a little nucleus, and I look at this as like us in the middle. And then as we kind of like start making our small communities, we start getting larger, and it affects like the whole universe. And that's how I interpret this 17 consciousness. And I really think that there's this part of us right now as we come into this Aquarius. I mean, this truly is the Aquarian age. We've been talking about the Aquarius age probably for the last, 20, 30 years, but this truly is, with this stellium of planets there in Aquarius, we are coming into this portion of our lives that I think we're going to look back on and realize like this was like where things changed. I think 2020 was the year of where we kind of like got shook up and realize that we can't keep going the same way we've been going for generations. And I think 2021 is going to be this year of like, okay, now that we have this information, how do we move forward in a different way? How do we use our own individual ideas and information and our own ways of doing things, but we use them collectively to make a momentum? And so they've been saying, many astrologers have been saying that this new moon in Aquarius that occurs on February 11th could be one of the most important new moons for this entire year. And the reason is because this 23-degree mark of Aquarius is really going to be where Jupiter is. Remember, Jupiter is also in Aquarius now. So Jupiter is expanding all of those ideas that I just told you about. And so it's going to be very interesting in this 2021, because Jupiter will actually pass over this same 23-degree mark March 30th, September 17th, and November 8th of this year. And so whatever energies that you plant at this new moon, remember, new moons are a great time to plant seeds of intention. So whatever you plant at this new moon, remember, it's going to have an effect throughout those points when Jupiter again comes to this 23-degree mark. Like I said, March 30th, September 17th, and November 8th of this year. And then next year in 2022, there's actually going to be Saturn passing over this 23-degree mark in Aquarius on April 13th of 2022 and July 16th, and then again ending in January 6th of 2023. So if you think about it, we basically are going to have Jupiter and Saturn, two of the most important planets, largest planets in our solar system, pass over this 23-degree point that we're getting ready to initiate on February 11th. So that's a lot of Aquarius energy and momentum. And so I want you to use that today as we're doing our past, present, and future spread, to think about what is it that you want to plant seeds of intention that deal with those Aquarian themes, because those are the areas of your life that you're going to want to get speed and momentum. Meaning, if you're trying to find a new job, if you are trying to find new ways to do a project, or new ways to attract clients, or if you're trying to meet someone, new ways to communicate with others, new ways to be able to interact with people at your church or with your community. This is a great time for you to plant those seeds, so that when Jupiter and Saturn pass over these 23-degree marks of Aquarius again, you're going to get more and more information. And this is something that's probably going to set you up for the next 3 years. And for me, it's interesting because I'm actually a Scorpio sun and moon. If you've heard me before, you've heard me say that, but I'm actually an Aquarius rising. And so what I have found over, especially like these last 2 weeks, I'm getting kind of like downloads about things that I thought were one way, but now I'm realizing I need to take that information and use them differently. And one of those examples is at work. I'm realizing I used to be like a very organized and systematic person. I'm a project manager, and so it's important for me to stay organized. But what I've noticed is like I'm getting new glimpses of how to get organized, but maybe in a different way, like maybe electronically, maybe not just physical with paper, on my phone, different ways to get organized. So it's just like these different apps have been like coming up to me that I'm like, oh, maybe I could use this in this way. So these are just small examples. When I'm saying you're going to keep getting these glimpses throughout these 23 degrees of Aquarius themes. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I rambled on enough. So let's do a past, present, and future spread. So in the past, I have the Page of Pentacles in reverse. In the present, I have the Two of Pentacles upright. And in the future, I have the Judgment card in reverse. Okay, and I did here pull the bottom card of the deck, and I have the Three of Wands in reverse. So let's take a look here at what these can mean. And I'm already seeing the Pentacle energy is interesting, because if you remember back at the Leo full moon on January 26th, we had this energy of resources and money and like more like information coming out around those type of earthly possessions. So I'm wondering if this is still piggybacking off of some of that energy. But let's take a look at them one by one. So with the Page of Pentacles, and let me show you what deck I'm using. So some of you had asked me what deck I'm using. Let me find it. So today I'm using the Modern Witch Tarot deck by Lisa Sterle, which I really love. It's like a lot of feminine energy in it. And so it's just like a modern take on the Rider-Waite tarot deck, but with like these female themes. So this Page of Pentacles, you can see there's this young girl, and she looks like she like actually just went to school, and she's holding that pentacle. And I think what's interesting about the Page of Pentacles is that it usually means some kind of new information or energy around money or resources is coming through. But with it being in the reverse and with it being in the past, I'm wondering if there is some kind of information that you were waiting for, that you were trying to maybe get information about, that was like new information that you didn't know where to find it, or a young person is bringing you information. So maybe you were trying to apply for a loan, or you were trying to apply for a credit card, or you were trying to get information on resources to purchase something. There's this energy here with it being in reverse, though, that maybe that information didn't come to you when you thought it was going to come, since it's in reverse, or maybe you're still waiting on that information. Maybe there is something you're trying to learn new that you still need to kind of hone your skills before you're going to get this information. But I'm also seeing that since the Two of Pentacles is in the present, but it's upright, maybe you now have gotten more information, but now you have to make a decision. So maybe money has come to you, resources has come to you. Maybe the information from that loan finally did come in, but now you have to make a decision on, you know, when you're going to spend it, or maybe you need more resources, but you have like it's almost like you have a decision to make about your resources. And with the Two of Pentacles, I'm also sensing that since we're at this like Aquarius themed time of year, there's also this sense of maybe you're thinking through how to use your resources. Maybe you're thinking through how you can collectively work with someone else, or maybe you think you need someone else's help to pull your resources together. So I'm kind of getting like this theme of like there's some kind of information around resources that you were trying to get information, and maybe you have them now, but now you have like a huge decision and you have to weigh how to use those resources. So the last card in the future is the Judgment card in reverse. And the interesting thing about the Judgment card is that it is a major arcana card, number 20, and it usually is symbolizing almost like what would happen when you get to the pearly gates, meaning like where is the almost like the karma of how you've lived your life. Will you, if you were a good person and you helped others, and you were someone who, had strong values and, worked to help with others, blah, 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 then at this point, like it's that point of which, Angel Gabrielle is like, okay, you are welcome into the pearly gates, that type of thing. Or if it was the kind of thing where you didn't really do the best in this life, you didn't really learn the lessons that you probably should have, and when it's time for the judgment day, you have certain lessons that you will have to come back on this earth in another form, whatever your belief is for that judgment. With it in reverse, though, in the future, I'm almost getting that sense of where is it in your life do you feel like you haven't been able to get to a point where you feel like you've accomplished something, and maybe resources, or you feel like resources have held you back, and when you get to this point in the future, you're not quite sure if it's going to be what you wanted it to be, or maybe you're almost fearful of what the future has to hold pertaining to something maybe that you had to make a decision about, and maybe you don't like the decision that you make, or maybe you're just questioning what it is like, is this the right decision for me? Is this the right direction to take. And with this Three of Wands in reverse, I'm still getting more of that decision. Like there's something that you're almost coming to this crossroads in the future that you're having to figure out, okay, I have these Three of Wands. I'm kind of looking over, you know, the water, seeing my ships coming in, but with it in reverse, I don't really know which direction to take, and I'm trying to use my resources, but I don't know how to use my resources. Does that make sense? Because I'm also feeling like anytime you see the Two of Pentacles, there's kind of like this yin and yang of like, okay, which direction do I take? And with that Judgment card, I'm almost like feeling like you're feeling like you don't know what is going to also be accepted by society, or you're not sure if you're going to be accepted in a certain way, or your belief might not be someone else's belief. Does that make sense? So it's kind of, that one's kind of like a little vague. So I want to make sure I do some clarifiers here, because I think what's also interesting is as we move through this energy of the new moon in Aquarius, we are still in Mercury retrograde. And so with Mercury retrograde, remember, we are still getting information in a very slow manner than what we're used to receiving energy in. And especially like messages or communication from people, since it is an Aquarius, this might be like information you've been waiting on around technology, computers, information regarding some special you know, information that you thought was going to be readily available but is not. I just think that there's like some kind of delay, if you will, in getting information. And so I think that's another challenge right now, is that we don't really have all the information. And maybe that's another thing here with this Two of Pentacles, is like maybe the decision is because you're having to wait on information, wait on others around you. Especially in Aquarius, there's this energy of like having to work with groups and someone bigger than yourself. So that might be another part of this, is that you're trying to figure out how to reassess something or get more information, or just wait until we get out of Mercury retrograde at the end of it actually moves into March before we're going to be out of the shadow of the Mercury retrograde. So don't be too hard on yourself if you don't have like all the information right now, because I do think that this is a challenging time for a lot of people, especially if you're a fixed sign like I am. If you are a Scorpio, a Leo, a Taurus, or an Aquarius, those are all the fixed signs of the zodiac. And so we tend to not enjoy change, and we want things to stay the same. And so with all this Aquarian energy, there is this energy of things kind of being like wanting to move quicker than they have been, but you're still kind of in that tug of war of things not working as fast as maybe you would like them to be going, or you're not getting information as quickly as you would like it to be. So be gentle on yourself, I think, obviously during this energy, because I think this is a big shift from where we were a year ago when we were in that Capricornian energy and things were like really slow and we like couldn't get any information. Aquarius is an air sign, so it likes to move quickly, but remember, since Mercury's in retrograde, we might not be able to get all the information in a quick manner as we would like. So let's do some clarifiers. So for this Page of Pentacles, I got the Nine of Wands, and the Nine of Wands is this energy of almost being finished with something, but not all the way at the end. And so I think that this Nine of Wands also could pertain to this Three of Wands here. It's like, I know it's supposed to be clarifying the Pentacles, but it's almost like I'm getting it clarifying that Three of Wands. Like maybe you were ready to do something, but you're not able to move through it as quickly as you would like, because you're like feeling like you've been through the ringer, you've been trying something maybe 2 and 3 times over and over. Maybe the resources that you needed just aren't there or weren't there since it's in the past. So I do think that that 9 of Wands is like this energy of like you're kind of like tired and trying to figure out, okay, how much longer is it going to take for me to really see the benefit of me waiting on whatever I was waiting for here with that Page of Pentacles. So let's see what the 2 of Pentacles has in store for us. And I think it's also interesting as we go through this Aquarius age, is like everything is so new feeling that I feel like many of us are going to be kind of like in this waiting game. I think that's what that 2 of Pentacles is also signifying, is there's kind of like this wait, right? It's like we've been through all of this, but now we have to wait until the energies are right before things are going to unveil themselves. And I'm telling you, like I told you about Jupiter going across that 23-degree mark 3 times this year, and then Saturn, you know, next year and into 2023. So this might be a very slow moving energy. Like I think this Aquarian energy isn't going to be something we see right away. So this 4 of Pentacles here, and I'm going to turn it this way so you can see it. So this 4 of Pentacles is you kind of like holding on to your money, or you could be hoarding your money or your resources. And with it clarifying the 2 of Pentacles, to me, with that being in the reverse position, there is this sense of like you concerned about the decision that you make. You're not going to have enough resources. You're not going to have enough money. You're having to like hold on too tightly to something that maybe the decision that you make, you're concerned that if you don't make the right decision, remember that whole Judgment card, like either you're going to be judged by how you did or didn't make this decision. I think that there's energy here of you being like concerned or maybe just confused because you don't have all the information to see what decision or which direction you need to go. So let's see what this Judgment card clarifier is. The Chariot. So the number 7, Chariot. And to me, that's a really positive card for the future, because to me, it's almost signifying like you were concerned that you weren't on the right track. But with that Chariot card, that's almost telling me like you're going to get it together. Like just because you don't know all the answers now with this 2 of Pentacles and you're like holding on to your resources, there is this sense with the Chariot that you kind of like are this, you know, you're this gladiator on this chariot with your horses, and you're like in control. Like you're able to like decide which way you want to go. You're not like concerned anymore like this Judgment card. You're not concerned that you're not going to get it. You're not concerned that someone else is going to judge you, because even though you might not have all the resources right now or all the information, there's this sense that you're going to get it. There's this sense like, okay, let me be patient. I'm going to be able to take the reins at some point, but maybe it's going to take some time. Maybe like this 3 of Wands over here, there's going to be like this, I'm kind of like waiting for everything to like come together. But I think that this is a positive reading, you all. I know there's something I did leave out, was on February 11th at the same time as this new moon is also the most romantic day of the year. So that's actually when Venus and Jupiter are going to be conjunct, so they'll be sitting in the sky together. So this might also be like a really nice energy for you to meet up with someone. It might be a good idea to like reach out to someone you haven't talked to in a little while. Remember, romantic doesn't necessarily only have to be, you know, just like love interest. It could be love for yourself. It could be like getting together with friends. So I also like, with that lens, when I'm looking at this spread, I'm also getting this feeling like there could be like decisions or people that you haven't talked to in a while that might be able to help you with resources, or might be able to help you get your mind together in a better way, because there's this kind of sense of like you felt like things were maybe a little wishy-washy somewhere, and you were kind of like ending things here with the Nine of Wands and Page of Pentacles. But maybe there's like something dealing with something in your resources that you were like holding on too tightly, but in the future maybe there's someone that comes in. I'm gonna pull another clarifier, because there's something to me that feels kind of like, I'm not gonna say it until I pull another card, because it's almost like there's something that wants to come through but hasn't. What information do we need to know? So between the stellium of Aquarius planets, Mars is also squaring the stellium. So that's might be the energy that I'm feeling, is like there still is this, with Mars squaring all of those planets, there could be tension behind not being able to have the clear thoughts and the communication that you want. Justice, there you go. So that's kind of like what I was feeling. So justice is in reverse. So there's something that is unjust, if you will about things going forward. And this could definitely be that Mars squaring the stellium that I was going to get into. And with Mars squaring the stellium, that is basically like, I'm going to show it to you on the wheel. That's basically tension. That's basically like all of these planets up here in Aquarius. So the sun, the moon, we have Mercury, Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter. Over here you can see Mars in Taurus squaring that. So there is like going to be this, you know, Taurus is another earth sign. So I'm almost starting to now feel like this Two of Pentacles, Four of Pentacles, and Page of Pentacles could also be pointing towards that Taurus energy, where maybe the Mars is squaring all of this air and communication. So it's kind of like now that I'm like thinking through it, I'm now feeling like maybe that Mars energy is going to be this tension of we can't make decisions, or we feel like there's this, it's almost like there's this energy of like you can't do what you want to do because you don't have the resources and information that you want to have moving forward, and you feel like you're going to be judged if you don't get it right. There is still that sense that you're going to get it right, but with this Justice card coming out in reverse, I think it's going to be a little tense, because I think with Mars wants to do. Mars wants to go forward. Mars is, you know, like the planet of the warrior, passion, like I have like this drive and I want to get it going, but there's this sense of like all that air energy and all those planets in Aquarius that are like, okay, well, let's think through some of this first, and let's communicate with 2 and 3 different people before we like come up with something, and like let's have a think tank about it. It's almost like an over thought processes going on, like too many cooks in the kitchen, like too many people trying to put in their opinions. And so I think that that is a lot of what this energy around the Pentacles has to do with. It could be that Taurus, that Mars in Taurus, like squaring, thus the cards being in reverse, like there's that tension. But I do think with this Justice in kind of clarifying in reverse, there is this like feeling of like, okay, maybe things don't come out the way that we thought they were going to come out. But with that 3 of Wands still here, there is this almost like, even if they don't come out the way that you thought they were going to, or you're not quite sure how they're going to move forward, there is kind of like this, needing to find a balance, because remember the Justice card also is Libra energy, so it's almost like there's this balancing that needs to happen. But with that Chariot card in the future, it's almost like you're going to have to strike a balance in order to kind of like move forward to that judgment, to that point where you feel like you can have a more secure feeling about yourself. But if you can't get to this like justice, if you're putting so much energy into the outcome of how it is, this whole journey is almost like not even worth it. Does it make sense? Does that make sense? It's almost like you have to go through these ups and downs and these ebb and flows before you actually like learn what it is at the end. Like, you might be able to take the reins to your Chariot, but maybe not in the way that you envisioned it in the beginning, like that Three of Wands. Like, you think you know which way you want to go, but with it in reverse, you're like, okay, well, maybe I have to be a little more fluid. Maybe I have to be a little more, you know, go with ebb and flow of how things are going. Maybe the decision you thought that was going to look one way doesn't really look that way. So I think that what is interesting to me, especially being an Aquarius rising, is that we tend to be very mental, and we think through, we have like analysis paralysis, where we think through things so much then that we don't even know like where to go, because we just put too much energy into the mental side of things. So I'm gonna say, like, moving into this energy, I invite each of you to think how you as an individual can make small seeds or plant small seeds in your life to expand in different directions than maybe you even imagine you would, and see how these next 3 years really unfold. Because I feel like what you do right now with all those planets in Aquarius is going to set you up for either a great next few years where you're like excited about the opportunities, excited about the things that you don't know, excited about different things along the road. But then there's this other side that it's like, if you don't embrace the change, if you don't embrace like things moving quickly and able to ebb and flow, you're gonna feel like things are unjust. You're gonna feel like people are judging you, that there's no kind of like positivity in the world. Because I think that, especially going through that Capricorn 2020 stellium, I think we all, in 1 or 2, if not 10 ways, each of us had to learn how to move on from what was to make new things for what is. And so I think that in 2021 and then the next 2 years, we're being set up at this new moon to really like embrace new things, but figure out how can you as an individual work with the community, work with people at your work, people at your church, your neighborhood, whatever, however you interact with groups of people. I think there's going to be a really strong presence around what do you need to do on an individual level to like make yourself and the others around you stronger as you move forward into 2021. So it's an exciting time, you all. I just think that it definitely is like this energy of like, don't think anything's going to stay the same for very long. This is really a fast moving energy, and especially with all those planets, there is a very mental, cerebral side of all of this. And so it could be taxing, I think, on many of us, especially as we come out of this Mercury retrograde. I think once we get into March, we come into the spring equinox, I think things are going to move even faster. So get ready. Okay, you all. Well, thank you so much for joining me here on Scorpio Soul Time. If you haven't subscribed or liked or shared, I would appreciate if you would. And if you have, I appreciate you so much. And I will see you next time on Scorpio Soul Time. Bye, everyone.